Are live. I'm gonna play my little video clip while we're getting it together. We had technical difficulties, so stand by.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derrick Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derrick Jones the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship gumbo, ayy.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. It is Wednesday night. It's the Relationship Gumbo live edition. And we're a little late today. We had some technical difficulties, but your boy got the toys in the plan B. So hopefully you guys can see me well and everything is working. Let me know if you hear anything technical so we can fix it. But I think we're ready to go. So we're going to get right into this. As you guys know, this is also an audio podcast, so you can get this on your earphones, put it on your Bluetooth speakers. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. You can actually look it up on Alexa, Pandora, iHeartRadio. So basically everywhere you can get a podcast, I am there. So make sure you tune into that. Also, make sure you tune into the Real Shop Talk. It's an all-male panel, 5 gentlemen, every Monday night at 8 p.m. For some amazing topics, and I believe the website for that is realshoptalk.net. So make sure you check this. Kind of looking at things because I'm in a whole different platform now, so I'm making sure I'm getting my bearings here. Yeah, John, I see you. Yeah, it wasn't you, but we here. We're about to get it in right now. So, guys, if this is your first time here, the way that we normally do the show is I will pause for 3 seconds. I will start the actual podcast, and then after that, I'll pause for another 3 seconds so I can chop it off and have that good audio in the middle. If anybody's listening now, again, let me know if you can't hear me or him, and I'll make sure I make some adjustments. So without any further ado, we are going to start the show. So give me my 3 seconds. And welcome to another episode of the Relationship Gumbo podcast. My name is Derrick Jones, and I am your host. I'm a certified life and relationship coach, an engineer, a strategist, and a mental health advocate. And tonight, I have an extra special guest. I'm gonna do a little bit more, put a little bit more stank on it when I put him on the screen. But this gentleman has been on the show before. He's an amazing guest, an amazing mind. And we have an amazing topic. Tonight, we're talking about do you value him enough to prepare for him? So here's the disclaimer before we get into it. We can talk about ladies without talking about men, and we can talk about men without talking about ladies. So anybody that wants to jump in and say, but what about, we're not talking to y'all tonight. We want the people that want to come and get this stuff, get it tonight, get this good information in, and have an open mind and an open heart to receive this, because this is going to be good. So I'm going to bring up my guest, Mr. Matthew Horn. So give me a second here. I'm going to introduce him, and we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes of this. So stand by. Mr. Matthew Horn, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Real quick, I do want to say that Matthew was on the show before. I've been on the show more than once.
Yeah, maybe like twice, I think.
Yeah, so you've been on the show a couple times. A lot of people that follow me are familiar with you. And this topic tonight was a topic of your choosing. I wanted you to I was going to come up with some, but I was like, what would you like to talk about? So we're going to get this in tonight. We're talking about, do you value him enough? So what I want you to do first is introduce yourself for the people that don't know you and let them know a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, my name is Matthew C. Horn. I'm an author, motivational speaker, and dating coach. I'm an author of 7 books, and I do motivational speaking. I have a book publishing company, and just try to help individuals to get to where they want to be in life, through different avenues. That's essentially what I do. And I know I have some time at the end of the show, but you can learn more about me at www.matthewchorn.com.
Cool. So we're gonna jump right into this, Matt. So, um, so the first place that I want to go is we're talking about. I would say we'll call it the dating landscape,
Yeah.
if you will, in 2022. And so the first question is, from your perception and maybe things that you've looked at and kind of your view of the world, do you think people are having better or worse dating experiences now?
Oh, it's definitely worse. All you see is memes and complaints all day. Yeah, it's both sides are saying it's pretty rough out here. That's what I tend to hear.
So real quick, I want you to kind of give the audience your perspective on maybe a couple of reasons why you think that is.
Um,
I know it's a big question.
you want to know something? It is a big question, but I think a lot of people, kind of overestimate their value, and it's healthy to have a healthy self-perception and a healthy, way that you see yourself and an idea of yourself. But I see a lot of people trying to box outside of their weight class and not pay attention to the people who consistently pay attention to you.
Mhm.
The people who revere you, the people who gravitate towards you, that is an indication of the level that you're on. And I think that many people, in this microwave society just they want what they want, whether they prepare for it or not. And I think that's the biggest impediment that we're facing right now.
Right. Yeah, that's one of many, one of many. I know you've heard some stories. I hear stories every day, and people are talking about how horrible the dating scene is and how hard it is to find the person that you believe is meant for you to have. So tonight we're going to take a segment of what we believe part of the problem is, and we're going to kind of do a deep dive on that. So hold on to your seats, ladies and gentlemen. So let me see. I have a few notes here on the side. And audience, forgive me if you hear some pauses. I'm on a different platform, so I want to make sure that I'm acclimated to this thing. So the first place I want to go is because I have them in a certain order, but I may want to alter the order real quick. So let's do. So the first bullet point, in general, everything a person values, but it eludes them. They find a way to make themselves appealing to it. So basically, audience, what I'm basically saying with this bullet point is the things that you value, but that you feel like you can't attain, but you really want it, you find a way to get it. So Matt, what I want you to do is to give me some examples of what some of those things are that people, some examples of what would illustrate what this particular sentence means before we get into what it means as it relates to a black man.
Okay. You can have a girl who's not even a full-fledged woman yet. She can be in high school and no one in her house has ever been to college, but she will find a way to get to her guidance counselor and figure it out as far as the application process, the preparation that goes into it, because that university has more value than she does in her mind. It bolsters her more than she can bolster it. Okay. So that's education. Then, when you graduate, let's say you're not getting the callbacks that you want. You start touching up your resume. You go see a resume specialist. You get extra training. You do whatever you have to do to make yourself appealing to the type of job and income that you want until you get it. When it comes to buying a house, you could, be in a situation where you grew up in an apartment and you've never been around, anyone close to you that's gotten a house and this and that, but you get in that position and you make yourself appealing to the loan officers. You take credit courses. You begin to save your money and, do everything they tell you to do in order to be appealing to the loan officers that can put you in the house once again, because that house is better than you, and that's the thing. When
Right.
people think something is better than them, then they tend to prepare for it. And, as that relates to the Black man, it's just like everything that, I see Black women really value, they go above and beyond to prepare for it. But a Black man can elude them. And I just don't see that fervor to figure it out, as with the other things that they traditionally value in their lives.
Right. So this is another question that's not on my list, but it just came to mind. Um, I don't necessarily, it may be societally, I don't know if it's necessarily Black woman, Black man, but do you think that we've kind of grown up in a culture where the perception is that the man has to kind of do way more than the woman, and the woman has to be on the receiving end, hence the not necessarily seeing that there is work to be done on their end? You follow what I'm saying? Like,
That I do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that that may be part of the reason why a lot of women don't even really see that there may be something that they need to do on their end, because it's kind of like this culture of, you need to take me as I am, and I deserve to get whatever I want to get, just like this. Like, I think if we really like hunker down on it, we've always been shown these images of the man being the initiator of the courting. He's doing all of the paying for the dates, and he's doing all of this stuff to get her, but we never look at what the woman has to do to the point of this show to prepare herself to be caught by the man. So just your take on that.
Well, a very solid man has a level of self-respect.
Mhm.
And yes, traditionally, a man who doesn't respect himself, he's going to allow that type of unhealthy dynamic where he's chasing and making her the
Right.
prize. But the thing is that the dynamic that is established in the beginning of the relationship is the one that's going to pervade the entire relationship. So you're setting the stage by how you operate and move in the beginning. Okay. Now, society does say, women are the prize, and you have to cater to her, you have to do this, you have to do that. But where has that really gotten women? If you look at the marriage rates of, 1 in 4 projected to be married, within our race, and the divorce rate, 50% of that those 1 in 4 women are going to get married and make it past 5 years. So you have a 12% chance of being married and making it past 5 years as a Black woman. And these are just statistics. So forget what society is saying. There needs to be an urgency. If a woman desires marriage, there needs to be an urgency to give that man what he's giving you. I believe that it's pretty easy to get married. That's what I say in my new book, How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women. If you just give the man the same baseline of respect that he's giving you, you'll stand out amongst the crowd. If you do not have to be coerced to show your appreciation for what he does for you and effortlessly give things back to him, you'll stand out. Those women typically don't last on the market. So it is advantageous to have a healthy respect for the man across from you. Size him up accurately. Understand that you may not be the only one with options. If this is an attractive, you find this man attractive, and most women don't really find that many men attractive. So the men that they find attractive, other women find them very attractive as well. These are elevated men. They've mastered themselves. So it doesn't hurt to take a look at the man across from you. Like, take your eyes off of yourself and understand that you may have a man across from you that's worthy of being treated the same exact way that he's treating you.
Right, right. That this conversation, as you know, it goes on in perpetuity in these internet streets. Um, and so I think it's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of women, because they've never had to think about it in their minds. Like, functionally, it's about, what can he do for me? We've had so many songs about it, and culturally, and I think some men, in order to get what they want, have bought into that and have kind of turned into those men that chase instead of seeing their own value. And I think it kind of dilutes the whole process when you have a lot of men behaving that way. Um, but let's talk about we're going to specifically talk about black men. Do you think that I hate to I don't want to say all, we'll say a lot of or most black women see value in black men, and do they see value in him, and are they even willing to pursue that thing that they see value? First question is, do they see the value? Do you think they see the value at all?
No. Uh, I'm going to be very honest with you. I came here to have an honest conversation with you tonight, and I know your platform is all about that. Um, when when I released my new book, How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women, years prior, I had written a book called How to Get Beautiful Women and Everything Else You Want from Life. I wrote a book to men on how to get the women they wanted.
Mhm.
That book was cheered on by women, and yeah, tell them how to prepare for us, and how to get us, and all this other stuff. What I consistently noticed when my book to black women came out, telling them how to prepare for successful black men that they want, what I noticed is that first of all, these women, most of them weren't too out of pocket. They were polite, but they were collectively saying I was taken aback by the title. And
Mhm.
then I said, well, if the book was titled How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Women for Black Men, would you have a problem with the title? And
Nah.
then they started dancing, and I said, hey, respectfully, I asked you a straightforward question, and many of them said they wouldn't have a problem with that, but they have a problem with the notion that they actually could do something to land the kind of man and prepare for the kind of man that they want. It didn't end there. It didn't end there. I started to see something that I couldn't unsee at that point. Um, Kevin Samuels, right?
Mhm.
He said that there's a low level contempt for black men. And then he said, black women have their own race. And that stuff kind of, I heard it, but it maybe went over my head until my book came, until I had started to have the experiences with my book. And I was just like, wow. I saw something I couldn't unsee. So the fact that it's okay for a black man to prepare for you, and it's not okay for you to prepare for him, and that's what I collectively saw, and I still see it to this day at my book signings. The only thing that's responsible for that is that you think you're better than him. If it's
Mm.
okay for him to prepare for you, but it's not okay for you to prepare for him, and people they're not going to put any effort or value into something that they think is beneath them, and that's what I've consistently seen.
Ouch. So wow. Let me collect my thoughts here after that. So I want you to do this. I want you to rewind and go back to what you just said and explain what it means to you when you said black women are their own race. 'Cause I want the audience to hear what that means, because they may not have necessarily caught that.
Yeah, that's something that I heard Kevin Samuels say, and it really resonated with me when I had my experiences. But with black women being their own races, it's like they're separate. They have their own thing going on. They're elevated. They're apart. They're set apart. In a more exclusive and elevated fashion in comparison to black men, and that's what he was saying.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in this environment, right? And I it it's unfortunate, but I've experienced a lot of the same like I've heard a lot of the same things, whether in person or online, where a lot of women will have the perception that they don't have to do anything at all. And I think it's really simple math, right? It's like you profess to say that you want a certain type of guy, but you're not getting a certain type of guy. So then the math says if you don't want anything that's not that type of guy, then you're gonna have to figure out how to get him. And that's where the whole conversation kind of fall kind of collapses, because it's
Yeah.
like, wait, I got to do some work. I got to work on some things about myself. I got to ask some men what they want. And it's unfortunate because we all have worked, like men have to work on themselves and elevating themselves. And I don't think from a perspective of trying to get that man, I think that probably is something that hasn't even, I want to use the word taught, but that's not the word I'm looking for. It hasn't been maybe modeled for a lot of women, so they don't even have the perception to even know that that's something that they should be doing. I hear all the time that I'm like this, so they should just accept me like this. I want this man, so if he want me, he got to accept me like this. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. he really can say no. He has the option to say he don't have to, and the results bear out. You're not getting him. So that the math isn't mathing, as they say. So, you have any thoughts on that before we move to the next bullet point?
I do. The dating game is exact, meaning that every person, whatever type of person they want, they're out there. And people who are aligned and calibrated to and prepared for each other, they find their way to each other because they have their table already set. It's cleared. They know themselves. They consistently are in the space of the kind of people that they want. And that's when you know that you're a match for what you desire. You're consistently in the space of the kind of people that you want. And you're attracted to them. Now, things happen in this life. You may not be able to make it happen with every person. That's life. But at least you're in the game.
Yeah.
So that's essentially it. The dating game is exact. Whoever you want, whatever type of person you want, they're out there. Now, the better question is, are you recognizable to that person? And you're recognizable when you're consistently in the space of the type of people that you want to be in the space of.
Right. And I'm gonna come back to that being in the space of part in a little bit, because I want to expound on that a little bit, because we're going to talk about a few things of the how they can prepare. So I want to throw that in there at the end. So the next bullet point I have here, well, we kind of jumped on it. It's the bullet point says, do you think that most women feel like they don't have to make changes in order to get the man she wants? And I kind of talked about that. I did talk about that a couple times. So let's do this. Let's talk about, because I think I kind of we both kind of hit that point a couple times. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about, now that we know, and hopefully a lot of the women listening in general will know that it's not just the man's job to do all the work. I hope that this is clear, because I think some people, it falls on deaf ears. We both got a job to do when it comes to this relationship thing. And I think, and I'm saying this, I'm pausing because I want my audience to get it. We are talking about women tonight. This is my second disclaimer, because I know somebody's going to say, but y'all need to do. No, we're going to do that another day. Mm-hmm. What I really want to hit home is, and this is going to segue into my next bullet point. There's work to be done in order for you to attract and keep the man that you're looking for. And there's some things, we're going to go through a couple of things that may help you, that in general help you kind of prepare yourself. And I'm gonna let Matt speak to some of those things that the majority of women can kind of look at and say, am I doing this or that in order for me to attract a man? So we're going to talk about what some of the examples of what preparation looks like. And I'm gonna read a couple of comments. Dope Discussions Live. Erica says, avoid women that say I'm the prize. And that speaks to what we were talking about. when someone says I'm the prize, it almost means I'm not willing to put in any work. I'm just gonna sit back and let you chase me. And that chase word is a scary, like, who, first of all, anyway, I'm gonna leave that alone. I could have a whole nother show on the word chase. Chrissy says, I'm on the other end of that. I'm the doer. So let's talk about what some things that some women can do to prepare for the type of man that they want. So I'll let you lead that.
Okay. Number one is find a sound-minded woman mentor. I introduced that concept very early on in my book. And what you want to do, because you may not have a picture of a woman who's in a healthy marriage or who's in a healthy relationship. Whether it's your mother, your aunts, the women in your neighborhood. The way our community is constructed. Some women may not have a picture of that they can reach out and touch, but they have to have the same fervor as the young girl going to the guidance counselor to learn how to get in college. Touching up her resume so she can get the job she wants, and credit counseling to get the house that she wants. The same energy and the same fervor must be taken to find a sound-minded woman mentor. Now, this woman has to have a relationship history and a marriage that is something that's reflective of what you desire. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you humbly approach her and explain your position and say, hey, I haven't been able to get this right. I don't necessarily have the pictures around me that are going to move me in the right direction. Would you be my mentor? One more strategy is to always remain emotionally available to the kind of man that you want to be with. What I mean is that any man that attempts to get in your space that is not an exact representation of what you want, don't deal with him, because once you start to deal with them, then you begin to become tied to them emotionally. And then you can meet the man who's everything you're looking for. And if his table is clean, he's going to, even if you don't tell him, he's going to feel that a piece of you is not there in conjunction with how he is fully there himself. So you remain emotionally available by only dealing with men who are an exact representation of what you want. Because if you're holding on to a piece of a man, that man is holding on to a piece of you as well. And that man that you really want, he's going to feel that whether you say it or not. And he ultimately would choose himself if he values himself, because the woman is not in it the same way that he is.
Yep. I talk about that all the time. It's huge, because I run into a lot of women that say, well, can I just kind of play around with this guy over here until the right guy comes along? And I'm like, no, you can't. That energy, though, it doesn't connect that way when you got half of you over here, but you still supposed to be like, we're talking about people who want marriage, who want to be on the track to be married. That's not going, it doesn't work. And they fight me tooth and nail on it. They like, but when the right guy comes along, I'll just disconnect from this person. And I'm like, you need to be clear to receive your blessing. So any commentary on that before I got a couple more things I want to talk about.
I mean, that's pretty much it, what you just said. I mean, I actually had an experience. My book was done. It's 19 chapters. I had outlined 18 chapters, and I had an experience as I was writing the book with a woman that I really wanted to be with, who, another guy, had a piece of her. And eventually I was just like, well, you had a life before me. So I was like, you all need to reconcile that. I was like, have a conversation with him. He already feels my presence. He knows you haven't been the same since we met, and this and that. And like I said, I'm realistic. I said, you had a life before me, but reconcile that. Start the conversation with him so you and I can actually move forward. And about a month went past, and she never had the conversation with the guy. Mm-hmm. And then I said, okay, you're leaning more towards him.
Right.
You're not afraid to lose me. I mean, you're more afraid of losing him than losing me. You won't even have a conversation. I was like, okay. And then that was it right there. So yeah. It's real like that. I mean, if the guy is not giving you what you want, you can hold on to a piece of that, but that ultimately is going to rob you of the full experience of the man that you really want to be with. It's going to happen that way every time.
So what I want to do now, because we're gonna do on this latter part of the show, we're gonna talk about um your new book. But I wanna it just popped in my head. I want you to talk about how important it is, and we're gonna talk to men now, how important it is for a man to have his own set of boundaries and choosing himself when he's out here on the choosing himself in the sense of having that confidence to know that you can walk away even from something that you might think looks a certain way or it might turn you on
Oh,
and
she was
and
bad,
choose
man. She was
how
bad, man.
how yeah how
It's like-
important because and I'm gonna tell you why I want you to talk about this because this is something that a lot of men, because I went through this myself before I was redeemed. I once I realized that I can choose to walk away from something that I might have jumped at before and choose my own peace of mind, that the my choices became better, right? The people that I would let in, they were more qualified because I didn't just let anybody in just because they was cute or they had this or whatever. How important is it for a man? Because we talk about women having standards and boundaries, but we never really talk about the men needing to do the same. So I want you to kind of expound on that a little bit.
Emotional availability is based on self-awareness and self-respect. So if you don't have those two things, those are going to create your boundaries right there. Self-awareness, that means that doesn't mean not just knowing yourself, accepting yourself as well. Okay.
Mhm.
Once you know and accept yourself, you become self-aware. And then you put that in conjunction with self-respect. The main boundary that you're going to create is that I'm not going to give a woman anything she is not giving to me, meaning that she inspires me to give her things. But since I value myself, I will not be in an imbalanced situation. Because once again, if you establish an imbalanced situation and dynamic in the beginning, that's how it's going to be. That's how you get, in a relationship or marriage, and you're not taking her to dinner and you're not doing those things. You're not chasing her and catering to her. What does she do? She takes certain things off of the table to get you back in line, to realign the dynamic that was established in the beginning that you allowed. So it's very important to have healthy boundaries and healthy standards, but they will always be derived from self-awareness. That means a
Mhm.
total and utter acceptance and knowledge of yourself, and self-respect. If you have those two things, self-awareness and self-respect, you will have healthy boundaries that will be upheld, and only the right woman, now you will be congruent with her. But if you don't have any boundaries, it's Pandora's box.
Right.
You're gonna find yourself in all kind of chaotic situations, and what's going to happen is that your relationships are going to be linear. They're going to be the same because you're
Yeah.
because you're remaining the same until you develop a healthy self-awareness and self-respect. You're just going to keep repackaging your relationships. That's all it's going to be. So it's very important. Self-awareness, self-respect will create the right boundaries so you can be congruent with a nice, mentally healthy, and respectful woman who reveres and loves you.
Yeah. I just real quick, I've had long time ago. I've had just like it's so many different experiences where once you get to a certain age and you accumulate things, maybe you got your own place and you got things that you can lose, or it's like I would run into women who would like invite themselves to my place and I'm like, I don't know you, like these little things where I'm like, wait, you on it's the same thing that women should be doing too. Like, I'm not gonna just let you come in my house where and like, let's say I might have a kid that live with me that's maybe not there all the time. My kid lived there. I don't know you. I got stuff to lose. We haven't even really had like we already talked 2 times and you like, can I come cook you something? No, you can't. You don't get to you don't get to cross that threshold until you earn the right to get through the gate. Like, but men typically don't do this. They're like, oh, you want to come over, or I can come over your house, and it's like it's done like that with no discernment, and then you end up in a situation, and it's like once I got to the point where I was like, I can say no, like I can literally say no, and go home and sleep well and not have to worry about the chaos that may potentially come from somebody that's trying to push the pace on me for whatever their reasons. You don't get to dictate how fast or slow I move. I do that. So yeah, it's that, for lack of a better word, triggers me because, and they would get mad because they're like, they want to call you all types of names because you're not yielding to or bowing down to them saying this is what you should want just because I have female body parts. And I'm like, no, there's a lot more of you out there. Like, it don't have to be you.
Yeah.
So Dope Discussion says what you have to lose is worth more than what they're offering. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Triumphant TV says, no, you can't come over. Let me tell you, when you are one of these type of people that have talked to, dated, seen, whatever, a lot of women, and you enjoy a woman's company, and you can just, if you're the type of guy that can just go out and just get a phone number willy-nilly whenever you want to, it's a superpower to take that type of person and for that person to say, no, I'm good. Like, it's hard to do, but once you establish that self-awareness and that love that you have for yourself, and you know that you solid, you don't have to accept everything. And when you get to that point, the candidates that you filter through, they become less chaotic because you now using your discernment, and you got your, certain things you're not gonna let them do, and they looking at you like you some kind of unicorn or something. Like, so you're not gonna let me come over? No, I'm not. Just like you're not gonna let me come to your place. Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, any commentary on that? Then we're gonna move into talking about your book.
Yeah, that takes me into something else that I'm playing around with writing right now. You said options. That's what I really heard you say.
Mm-hmm.
A man that has options can really dictate the pace of what he wants to do. And I believe a key for a man to really have options, he has to be a sexually attractive man.
Mm-hmm.
And because when you're a sexually attractive man, you penetrate a woman's nature that God gave her. Okay, God gave her a biological and a sexual imperative when he created her. So if you stimulate those, you go through you hasten the process. It's going to be less barriers, less games, all of the typical stuff that a man would have to go through. He's just recognizable to a large number of women who desire him from an innate primal level. So I believe that men should not just think that they deserve for women to adore them and pursue them and be available to them. No, you have to, really become your best physical, mental, and spiritual self in conjunction with having a lot going for you in your life, meaning that the results in your life are always on an upward trajectory because you're a man of purpose and vision. That's what most women want. Most women have to settle. I call that man the quintessential man, the man that's very attractive, and the man who has something going for himself. That's the total package right there. That's when you can confidently tell any woman kick rocks, or you're not being respectful. Okay, you can just walk away from any woman when you've elevated yourself to the point that not every woman wants you, but enough women that you are extremely attracted to consistently, come in your space, give you some play, and things of that nature. But what happens is, like most women, they have to choose a man that they're really attracted to that doesn't have anything going for himself, or a man that has a lot going for himself that they're not really attracted to. Mm-hmm. Very rarely do they meet the complete man. So if you want to be a man with those options, you want to work on yourself, become your most desirable self, from a physical standpoint, and also make sure that you always have a vision beyond where you are in life. You're always working towards something. You're always creating something, so that the results in your life are always on the upward trajectory. That's the quintessential man right there. And that's the man that's deserving and who will have the options.
Gotcha. Very well said, sir. Very well said. So we're going to get into something that you really enjoy talking about, your book. So let's talk about your latest book. I want you to introduce the book and like what was your purpose behind writing this book, and then we'll probably touch on maybe a chapter, maybe two, depending on the time.
Yeah, well, I really wish I had a copy to flash in the camera, but I'm completely bone dry sold out right now. UPS is supposed to be delivering some tonight. Hopefully, I was hoping to have some before the broadcast. But my new book, How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women, the motivating factor. I'll just tell you how it came about. How I came about writing this book. I was at a book signing at Andrews Air Force Base. This is maybe, I would say, about 4 years ago. And I had just set my table up, and a white lady walked past my table, and she saw my book that I wrote to men, How to Get Beautiful Women and Everything Else You Want from Life. She walked past my table and she backpedaled, and she says, when I saw that book, I thought that you were writing a book to young Black women. She says, I'm a Christian missionary. I just came off of a mission. I don't have any money. I can't buy your book, but I was working with some young Black women, and they need to hear from a successful man like yourself on how to prepare for them. And that thought had never crossed my mind to do that before that day. I mean, she might have been an angel for all I know. And I was thinking about how I've been going on dates with younger women, and I was just giving them game about, how guys elevate at different paces, and how to pay attention to, and recognize the right guy. I was already doing what she said. So she crystallized and brought it to my awareness that I had something to contribute to this conversation. The purpose behind it is creating more Black marriages. 20 at the time that I wrote my book, 28% of Black women were projected to be married. That means 72% of them would never be married in their lifestyle. That's an epidemic. I did not write this book to posture the Black man above the Black woman. If you see the cover, they're eye to eye and they're holding hands. That's a sign that they're mutually giving in the space of that relationship. I wrote it to create more Black families, to see that next Martin, that next Martin and Malcolm come out of this 2-parent household, to really show that next generation of what real love can be, that the dynamics behind it, and the fact that it's actually possible. So it was just written to prepare Black women to get the kind of men that they really want. That was just the bottom line.
Right. You sent me a chapter list.
Sure did.
So I'm going to pick one of them. I think we might have touched on a little bit, but I'm gonna pick another one. Chapter 10, It's Too Good to Be True. Tell us what that one, loosely, what that one is about.
That means that you want to develop yourself enough so that when the right man comes into your space that gives you the right treatment, that you do not look at him as he's too good to be true. Typically, when a person has not worked on themselves and they get an elevated man in their presence, you can easily tell yourself that, because deep down you're not prepared for it, or you haven't been in the space of it enough because you never saw yourself as deserving of that. So you dealt with lower tier, lower level men. Mm-hmm. So it's too good to be true means that work on yourself, learn to love yourself, grow from your experiences. Don't beat yourself up. Just get better from every experience, and perpetually just try to prepare for that kind of man that you really want, so that when he shows up, he will. When he shows up, you will be believing that you're actually deserving of something like that. You don't want to have. You're not going to get too many elevated men that are into you and you're into them and things of that nature. That's a gift. So you just want to make sure that you're as prepared as you can possibly be, so that it's not a thing of it's too good to be true. It's more of a thing of this is in alignment with the evolution of who I've become.
Right. And that in itself is what I would call a life lesson. Like we always have to. People, it sounds cliche, but people always say, show up as the best version of yourself. But a lot of people don't put that into practice. I would say most people don't. And that's why we're here. That's why Matthew is here. That's why I'm here. A lot of people that I'm sure you're affiliated with and I'm affiliated with, we got a mission ahead of us. Oh, yeah. It's not an easy one, but I'm here for it. The other one that I chose, Now, if we talked about this a little bit tonight, then you can pick another one of your choosing. I picked chapter 6, Size Him Up Accurately. Ironically, I picked that one. So if you feel like we talked about that a little bit tonight, you could pick another one at random.
Well, I'll go a little bit more into it than we initially did. Size Him Up Accurately is learning how to scale men. Okay, like you don't want to build up your ego based on a bunch of men that you're not really into, who sprinkle rose petals at your feet and adore you and chase you. That's essentially what I call in my book Monopoly Money. Now, the desirable man, he's at the top of the food chain. That's the one that's attractive, has things going for himself and things of that nature. You can't spend that Monopoly money in a real store. He's the real store. He'll kick you out. If you come at him like he has to chase you, and he it's a one-sided deal, like you've been saying all night, Derek, and like you're just the prize or the object, of you're the only significant person in this interaction. If you come at him with that, he has too many options for him to stick around for something like that. So you want to size the man up accurately. You want to take your eyes off of yourself and actually take a look at the man across from you and say, what kind of options does this man have? And let that drive your behavior. Let that drive the reality of how you have to flow and move with this man. Because if you come at him as if you're more valuable, then that's it. He'll toss you right back.
Yeah, this is good, man. I like this. I like what you said, because this speaks volumes. That when you talked about Monopoly money, I'm thinking, first thing that popped up in my head is like the DMs and the comments on Instagram, and it's a lot of inflated egos walking around thinking that that's that attention is real. Like it's dudes, it's my show. I can say what I want.
Yeah,
It's
you
some
can.
dudes out here throwing roses and flowers, and oh my God, you're the most beautiful thing on the planet, knowing good and well that that's probably not something that they would necessarily approach on the street or even marry. And so that woman, if she gets enough of it, she's gonna feel like she the prize. Like, look at these 100 comments. This is my value now. But then when you actually go out in the world and you meet a man who is of a certain caliber, he's gonna look at you and be like, nah, that ain't it. So it's that to me, it's kind of like a funny, not funny, because people really need to get it. Like that a lot of that stuff, especially, and I want to say I read some kind of article or blog about like Tinder, like the dating sites, and how people go there just to get the adornments. And it's like feeding, like they don't never really go on a bunch of dates, but they just want those comments to come in so that they can feel better about themselves. And then it's a weird dynamic, because I feel like what you said probably has been going on forever, but I think it's a magnifying glass on it now, because we now have the internet. So it's like, if you just was feeling a way about yourself and you wanted your self-esteem boost to go up 3,000%, go on Tinder or go on Instagram and wear a certain outfit. Don't even really matter how much you weigh or what you look like. It's going to be a whole bunch of people telling you it's amazing. Even your girlfriends aren't going to tell you that it don't look good. So that's another problem that you women have. Y'all are not helping. So anything you want to say on the back end of that, we're gonna start wrapping up.
Yes, I definitely wanted to say one more thing on the back end. If an overabundance of men that you're attracted to, that you really value and that you're into, were checking for you, you wouldn't be single. I'll say that again. If an overabundance of men that you're attracted to, that you're checking for, and that are actually into you, if there was an overabundance of these men, you wouldn't be single. I think what was going to help a lot of women is to just look at the reality of it Look at the quality of the men who are chasing you versus the quality of man that you want. And if there's not an overabundance of the kind of man that you want in your space, the best thing to do is just, humble yourself and say, hey, I might have some work to do. It's attainable, it's possible, but it's going to come at the expense of your humility. The women who are waking up and understanding that there are a segment of high value men who value themselves highly, and they're waking up and they're doing the work on themselves, they're recognizable. Marriages are happening. Good, healthy marriages are happening. There's just one analogy of how I look at this whole thing. I look at it like every single person is virtually on Noah's Ark. I call it Noah's Ark of dating. And some people are closer to the exit than others, meaning that some people have more advantages, God-given, or maybe they've worked on themselves. But the fact remains, everyone is on the ark. And the only way to make it off of this ark, meaning that you can't look at yourself and say, I'm too good to work on myself, because we're all in the same boat. We're all on Noah's Ark. We're all single. We all desire someone who is devoid of our space. So in order to make it off of the ark, you have to accept the reality that, first of all, that you're on the ark. And secondly, you have to accept the reality of the work that must be done for you to make it off of the ark. You have to be introspective. When you have someone of value in your space and they chose to depart, you have to examine yourself instead of blaming them and say, what did I offer to the situation that it didn't work out? What was my contribution? The more introspective that you are, the more humble that you are, and the more that you actually have a desire for that type of man that you say you want to be with, you will do what it takes to work on yourself to the degree to get off of the ark.
Yeah, I do want to. That's good though. I like that. I like that. I do have a comment here that I want you to possibly speak to, or maybe we both can. I have Tanya Brunson here says, this is hard. The available real men are few and far between. I know I am protective of myself to the point where it probably drives men away, but I don't, hold on, but I don't mean to. And then she also says, I just don't want to lose my peace and joy. So what's your take on that?
First of all, there's a lot of elevated, successful, available Black men out there. They're out there. Don't let the statistics the statistics speak to that, actually, but don't let the narrative rob you of the fact that there are very attractive, available men out there. And the more that you work on yourself, the more that you develop yourself, the better your eye is going to be, so that you don't make the wrong choice that's going to have you in a stressful situation. For that young lady, I would just say focus on yourself in terms of developing yourself, because if you get into a situation that is toxic and that is stressful, that means that you were a safe space for a toxic and stressful man, which means that you're a toxic and stressful individual yourself. The dating game is exact. Whoever can make their way into your space and remain there and you be at peace with it, they're a exact and direct reflection of who you are. So the more that you work on yourself, the more elevated that your experiences are going to become with men. So you don't have to worry about them. Worry about developing yourself. And then whatever degree and level that you develop to, that will be the type of man that can make their way into your space and remain there.
Some people felt that one. I could feel it in my bones. That's why I tell y'all, come in. You might come in and get triggered, but you're going to leave inspired. I'm going to stick by that the whole 2022. I'll say this just to piggyback on that, and then we're going to wrap up. When you talk about, basically what you're saying is you're afraid to give up your peace and joy for something that may potentially be toxic, and not being aware of what it is. Even in your words, right? That fear, toxic people can smell that. They know that you may be a little timid, you may be a little afraid, but yet you're trying to be out here and date. You're going to attract somebody that's going to take advantage of that. And then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You're going to keep meeting them time and time again. And then you're going to say, yo, these men are trash. Like they just few of them out here. They don't even the good men. men that's doing stuff that I want them to do, they don't exist. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's unfortunate because you could be a very amazing, sweet person, right? But without the proper boundaries, without the proper discernment, without the proper work that you need to do with yourself, on yourself, those people that aren't for you, who want to consume your time, consume your resources, they're going to keep coming your direction because they notice that in you. And that's why, to Matt's point, if you work on becoming the best version of yourself, and you may have to talk to someone to help you figure this out. When you work on becoming the best version of yourself, there's a certain amount of confidence that comes with that. When you start working on what you will and won't, within reason, deal with, and those boundaries start to get erected, that trash type of person that's normally coming in your direction, there's a certain sixth sense that you start to develop once you start operating in your purpose, and you confident about the decisions that you're making. You can sniff them out. Like, I know it's cliche to say, and they're like, oh, these people are showing they representative and all of that. All you gotta do is have some meaningful conversation and interaction with somebody, and you'll really be able to, like, it ain't like people talk about players and all this kind of stuff. They ain't that good. They ain't that good. Like, you really don't ask me how I know, but they ain't that good. Like, they not that good. And all you got to do is really watch the behavior, watch and see if the words and the behavior match. And I guarantee you, you'll be able to see it sooner than later. So I'm gonna leave that there. Anything else you want to say, Matt, before we wrap up?
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to say, I want to speak to that point you just made.
Oh, wait. Before you say that, she has another
Okay.
comment. So we may want to wrap this in. She says, can you give examples of working on yourself? I've been safely out of dating on purpose for years. Fear. I'm educated, successful, and don't want a man to wreck what I worked hard for. Thank you. So I don't know
Okay.
if that, yeah.
An example of working on yourself is a interaction or relationship ends with a man, and you become self-reflective. You don't blame him. The first thing that you do, your first instinct should be to ask yourself, what was my role in this not working? And as you go from relationship to relationship and interaction to interaction, you have to continuously ask yourself this question. And now you can make the changes, meaning that you can accept your role in it, and you can say, hey, whatever part of me that came from, I can make a declaration that I'm not going to move that way anymore. Permanent change is made from awareness and then a declaration that you're just not going to be that way anymore. So it's the type of work you're talking about mainly is self-examination. Personal growth, this is what I was going to say anyway. Personal growth is a different response to the same situation. That's all personal growth is. If you find yourself in the same situations over and over again, yes, go get some professional help, like Derek was talking about. In conjunction with being very introspective and just being humble enough to say that there were two willing participants and it's not working. If you take the humility approach, then you're going to discover things about yourself that may not be the healthiest, and then you can work to become a better and more recognizable version of yourself to the kind of man that you can have a healthy relationship with. I believe that's essentially it. It was one more thing I was going to say. As far as the time and vulnerability reveal the truth of any person. So if you're scared, first of all, you just want to know and accept yourself. So you have boundaries, you have expectations, you know your desires. But if you're around a person long enough, life is going to put their back against the wall. They can pretend as much as they want to. Like Derek said, they're not that good. Life is going to show you who they are. When their back is against the wall and all those pretenses evaporate and in a real situation, that's when you see the truth of who that person is. When they're in a vulnerable position, time and vulnerability is going to reveal the truth of any person. Whoever you see in that moment, accept that is the person that is the truth of who they are. You have to accept that. And when you accept that, then you'll know how to move. You don't have to protect anything. You just have to evolve and grow into a point that you can just be aware and see. It's never that other person. If somebody slips through the cracks, it's because you had a crack for them to slip through.
That's it. That's exactly it. I'll say this, and then I'm really gonna start wrapping up for real. Tanya, I think you may not be able to. I think you may need to, whether it's a coach or some kind of a therapist or a counselor. I think that sometimes, not just you, I'm just using you because you were speaking. We sometimes need someone else to help us see ourselves because we can't, right? To see maybe there's some trauma there that produced the fear, that helped produce the fear. So when I say work on yourself, sometimes that means in order for you to do the work, you may need somebody to help you kind of plot the course and then let you go. Because a lot of us think that we can kind of figure it out. A lot of us can, but I'll say most of us need to talk to somebody. Most of us need to figure out like what the heck happened when I was 10 and why am I picking all these people? And like, you never really understand where you're going until you look at where you've been. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's difficult because where you've been is a treacherous, hurtful, traumatic space, and you don't want to revisit it. And that's why I'm saying you may need to talk to somebody that's an outside party that can kind of look at it from a bird's eye view and say, oh yeah, there's the dots connected. Do you see the dots? Yes, that's the dots. Okay, cool. So this is what you got to do from this point moving forward. I think that you're probably gonna probably have to have somebody on the outside look at it, because you said you've been out of dating for years. So that's a lot of practice that you don't have either. So now it's even scarier now because you don't even have the reps to even know what's going on out here anymore. So I'm gonna read a couple comments and then we really gonna get out of here because Matthew got a bedtime, I think. So Dope Discussion says being out of dating game for long periods of time doesn't necessarily equate to doing the work. Yes, I agree. And that's exactly what I was talking about. You gotta figure out what that healing really looks like. And we always talk about on this show, there's no such thing as fully healed, but you got to start the process of actually healing. Just sitting out of the game doesn't equate to the work, to Erica's point. So in not knowing the work, you're going to have to probably talk to somebody to figure out what that plan looks like for you so that you can, number one, have a better outcome for yourself individually, but also make you, to the point of this whole show, make you prepared to welcome in the type of man that you're looking for. John Singletary says, listen, ladies, this was for me, but I'm certain y'all got something out of it too. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna put Matthew's contact information in the notes and in the description on YouTube so that you guys can find him. But I want you to, Matt, if you have any last parting words, and then tell them again how to find you. Then we're gonna get out of here.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you tremendously for having me on. It's always real magic when we get together, and I just respect you so much. I want to say thank you. Yeah, always. My parting words are: calibrate yourself to the kind of man that you want to be with. Calibrate yourself to the kind of man that you want to be with. It's really that simple. Get an understanding of him, what he wants. Take the conversation away from yourself and being the prize and being desired, and really accept the fact that there is a type of man that you desire that has eluded your space. You may have encountered him, but he doesn't stay. Okay. Calibrate yourself, prepare for, get in the atmosphere of elevated men who are speaking to you in terms of what they're looking for. A lot of your answers are right there. Take the conversation away from yourself. Take your eyes off of yourself and get into the conversation of what those type of men that you want are actually looking for. And your breakthrough may be in that space. You can contact me at www.matthewchorn.com. I'm at Matthew C. Horn everywhere on social media. I would love to connect with you all. And if you're in need of dating coaching or just anything of that nature, you can email me at matthewchorn23@gmail.com, and then we'll set up a consultation to get you going. But once again, Derek, thanks for having me. Listening audience, God bless you all. Thank you for your comments, and just thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for coming back, and we're gonna have you back again, and probably again after that. But yeah, man, let's stay in contact, and I'm sure I see at least 2 to 3 people that have shows that's probably gonna be hitting you up after this.
Okay.
I can almost guarantee it. So stay tuned for that. I know you always up for spreading your brand and spreading the awareness and the knowledge that you have, period, and also in your book. So guys, hit them up. So on that note, guys, we're going to get out of here. As usual, you can go to relationshipgumbo.info, the website, and just connect to me everywhere, because I'm about to start ramping up these pop-ups on Instagram again. So make sure you stay tuned for those. YouTube, as usual, if you haven't subscribed and you're on here tonight, subscribe to the YouTube, click the bell. Make sure you click that bell and make sure you say you want all the notifications, because every week, this thing, we got some things coming. 2022 is the year where I'm about to bust out the seams on this one. I got some things coming. I know I keep telling y'all that, but y'all, and I was saying, in a few weeks, some things are gonna start coming out, and I want y'all to be prepared for it. So make sure that you follow me and tell a few of your friends to follow me too, because I know some of them need to hear this information. So on that note, we out of here, guys. Make sure you stay safe. Make sure you take care of everybody around you, the old ones, the young ones, and especially yourself. So we are out of here, guys, and I will see you next week, same time, same place. Have a great night. Uh-oh.